Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel, and today in this video I'm going to show you how you can build a repeater like field in your Inertia and Vuejs based application. So I have been recently working on this Chronos application, and I had a use case where I'm building segments, and in a segment I can have multiple rules. So I'll show you one example of how I want that segment to be. So let's say I have a total price rule which says that users who have purchased a total of 5,000, okay, and their minimum spend is at least 1,000, okay. So you can see I have two fields over here because I want the bracket to be that the total spent by the user is 1,000 rupees and it is within the 5,000 rupee bracket, right? So 1,000 to 5,000, and hence I am taking two input fields. So my segment has two rules per se, and this is where I had to use the repeater functionality. I can have multiple rules, and based on that I can add multiple rules to it, right? And this is what we are going to see how we can do in Vue.js in this video. So if you are interested, let's get started. All right, so I have this sample application, and if you see, the behavior here is that I have a user who can add projects. So if I click on add new project, I get this form. I can add project 1, description 1, URL 1, and save. Now, if I go to my SQLite, you can see I am storing that information over here. So now let's understand how this is working. Okay. So first thing is, let's understand the database structure. I have a projects table where I have user ID for the relation, which project belongs to which user. Then I have some basic fields like name, description, and URL. Okay. Name is required. Description, URL can be nullable. They're not a mandatory field. Okay. And then obviously I have my project model, and I have a few fillable fields. I have a relation between the project and the user. The project belongs to a user, and a user basically has many projects, right? So that relationship is also there. This is the only piece, and then what I have is in my web.php I have a resource route called projects where I'm using the project controller. Okay. But the first step is, on my dashboard page, I have this project form. Okay. Now, for some time, let's just ignore the prop. Okay. Let's assume it is not there. So I have this form and project form. If I open it up, you will see there are a few things. I'm taking the props because this is how I'll get the edit and view part of that thing. But as I said, we will keep it aside for some time. I have a form, okay, the use form, and there I am defining projects, which can be the projects if they are available through props. Otherwise, it's an empty array. Okay. Now, let's understand the markup. I have add projects. Then I have some buttons, two buttons. One is the add project, which gives me the repeating field, and there is the save. Okay, they are calling individual functions, which I defined over here, and I have a child component. Now, I typically use this strategy where I have a main form component. The entire logic of validation, saving, and stuff is managed inside the main component, whereas whenever I have some fields which have behaviors which are a little more than just the input field, right? I take that into a separate component so that I can easily obfuscate the experience of that field in a different file. Okay. So I have a single project. I'll open this up as well. This single project has three input fields. I have the text field for name, description, and URL. Now, what happens is this projects is either projects coming from the props, or it is an empty array. Now, initially, it will always be an empty array. So if I remove this, you'll see nothing is happening. When I click on this, this form comes up, this repeater, right? I can do 1, 2, 3, as many times as I want. It will add that. Okay. How is that happening? So I have this add a new project method. Let's go inside that. In the form.projects, I am pushing an object which is name, description, URL. Now this is getting pushed. So what happens is I have this v-for which says every project in form.projects, right? So every element in that array, for every element, I will repeat this single project. And what does this single project has? It has these 3 fields, right? And that's how I'm able to render this form. Okay, so far so good. So I have the array which is getting new items when add new project method is being called by the click of that button, and because of those elements my single project fields are getting repeated. But this holds an important piece. If I show you, right, let me do a pre-tag and I'll do form. Now by default, if you see, projects is an empty array. I do add new project, 1 item is added, 2 items are added, one more item is added, right? But there's no way I can see the changes. And the reason is, if I, for some time, I'll just remove them, okay? This is for explanation so that you understand. Add project, see, if I make these changes, it won't change, right? Because these fields have no real relationship with the main component. And that's where what we are doing is using the vModel property. Okay, I have a complete video on what basically vModel is, but basically what, in a nutshell, what I will tell you is that what we are trying to do is the parent component is sending some data to the child component. Okay, the child component takes that as its own state, so as to say, and makes changes. So for example, when I make these changes, right, it is happening inside the single project, but that data needs to also reach to the parent component, which is the project form. And that's where the vModel binding comes into picture. The parent sends data. So in this particular case, I am sending through vModel the project current key, okay, because I will have multiple items in the projects array. So I'm sending that particular key as vModel. My child component, or the single project form, is taking that model, it's an object, and it is doing the two-way binding. So model.name, description, and URL is there. Anything that changes inside this component, right, is passed as information to the parent component. So the parent component knows that, okay, there is some change in this particular key. So maybe on the second element or the first element or the third element, right? And that's how the parent component knows about it. So yeah, that's how, if I now again print that pre-tag, refresh, I'll do 2 projects, ASDF, 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 and something else. You will see the data is coming over here because now that model binding has happened. Okay, this is taken care of. Now, when I save, what happens is I'm doing form.post. Form.post to the route project.store. So let's understand what is happening inside the project controller. So inside the store method, I am first of all validating that the projects is required and it should be an array. That's about it. Now I'll go to the delete part later. I'll show you the problem and then I'll tell you why the delete is required. But in here, once I get the projects, right, I'm doing in each loop, and for each project what I do is I add user ID to that project as a key, because if you remember, my project model needs name, description, URL and user ID, okay, and that cannot be null. So from the array I do get the name, description and URL. I am sticking in the user ID and I do create. So with this I can potentially this is coming over here, projects is here. I just need to do this. So now my project 1 is visible, okay, and I'll add project 2, description 2, URL 2. Now I'll save and you'll see now I have 3 records. Project 1 is repeating because what I did was I took the entire data as an array and I looped through it. So initially there was project 1 already in the database and now I have one more project 1. And that is the reason I had this delete over here. Here the shortcut that I'm taking here is that I have no relation right now of these IDs anywhere in my database, right? So I can safely remove them and add them back. That's why if at this point I do a save, I'm left with 2. You can see the IDs are 4 and 5 because I had 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 got deleted and now 2 more records got created. If I add one more, see what will happen. 6, 7, 8, because 4 and 5 got deleted and 3 got created, right? So this is how I am handling the repeater, and this is how the entire front end is kind of managed. And yeah, this is what I wanted to cover in this video. This is an easy way for you to create those repeaters inside your Vue.js application. The concept will work in a React application as well, but if you guys think that you need a React video, drop a comment below and I will definitely consider doing one for React as well. But yeah, that's about it. That's what I wanted to cover. If you like this video, then do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.